Hi everybody, Steve here. Hey, I was going through my channel tonight and looking at the comments on my videos, and a dear friend of mine left a comment talking about this International Tribunal for Natural Justice. And she's a dear friend and she is a great researcher. But I really felt after reading it and after reading this treaty that I needed to come and make some comments on this, because when we read this thing, I'm going to read a little bit of it to you here. I, a man, woman, hereby mandate the International Tribunal for Natural Justice by my ratification of this, the Treaty of the International Tribunal for Natural Justice, voluntarily, freely, and absent of any outside influence, coercion, or duress, having attained the age of majority and being in full control of my mental and physical faculties. Then it gives you a bunch of fields here to fill out. And please, nobody go here and fill this stuff out. This sounds great, but it's not going to sound so great when I'm done with it. This is a really good example of Satan telling on himself, and how deep the rabbit hole really goes, and how the trickery of their language works against us. Because, man, this sounds good right here. This really sounds good. But there's some key words that we really don't know the meaning of for the most part, like treaty. Who really knows what a treaty is, or how far-reaching the scope of its control is? And right here where it's saying that you're doing this voluntarily, freely, absent any outside influence, coercion, or duress, having attained the age of majority, that's all legal jargon to put you in a contract that later you can't argue that you didn't know what was going on or you didn't mean to do it that way. But it gets better. Having awakened to the truth that since the moment of our birth we have been contracted into corporate institutions which by their very nature sever neither people nor planet, and in hereby revoking in earnest all such contracts which have blinded, encumbered, and sought to separate us from our most noble expression, we now claim a rightful place in this world which the Supreme Creator within has provided for us all as equals amongst all, and will take such actions as to ensure the restoration of truth and justice for all the people of the world. Boy, that's a mouthful there. And you probably didn't catch it, but the biggest thing here that caught my attention and just sent a chill up my spine is when it said right here, which the Supreme Creator within. Do you realize what that's saying? The Supreme Creator within? We're the Creator. We are basically Elohim. We're God, is what this is saying. And so this is an in-your-face doctrine of the Antichrist right here in this document. And it sounds so good until you understand some of these terms. Well, I'm going to go through a little bit more here in a little bit. But, wow. Law in its purest form requires nothing more or less than we each do no harm. That's absolutely true. Harm in any form is only ever caused by natural persons, regardless of whether or not the natural person may claim to be operating under corporate dictate, color of law, or otherwise. Absolutely true. All of this is absolutely true. I like this one. Neither corporate immunity nor color of right can indemnify a natural person for harm caused to another. And this is all just completely and totally true. However, the trick is in some of the wording. Now, here it gives you a chance to ratify this treaty and to join with this. This is, oh, where did I see this? We have met with such a truth as we have come to know it, understand it, and embrace it, and now choose to be ruled by it for the rest of our days. This is an irrevocable contract. Irrevocable. We choose to be ruled by it for the rest of our days. And we did this because, where is it now? Right here. we voluntarily, freely, and absent outside influence, coercion, or duress, having attained the age of majority, those are all legal requirements of a valid and binding contract. Being in full control of my mental and physical faculties. So I can't even say I'm a dummy, or I was retarded, or I just didn't know. It's all covered. It's all covered here. Well, let's go down and look at this contract real quick. And you might have to bear with me. I think I have, or this Constitution, I'm sorry. I think I have like 26 tabs open when I checked last time, and I can't close any of them. So I might have to do some searching from time to time. Okay. The International Tribunal for Natural Justice, established by treaty, letters patent, and proclamation, shall function in accordance with this Constitution of the International Tribunal for Natural Justice. Okay. What's treaty? What's letters patent? What's proclamation? Because we may have been taught one way and think of these words in the normal usage, but this is all legal definitions. They come from a book like this right here. This is Black's Law Dictionary, and I'm not going to use this book because I've got it online here where I can look it up a lot quicker and we won't have to mess around. Let's go over here and look at what a treaty is. We'll go to Wikipedia. I think, nope, we're going to go back to this. Is this the one? Treaty, yeah. We're just going to go for the easy ones right now. A formally concluded and ratified agreement between countries. The two presidents signed a 10-year treaty of solidarity. Okay, I'm going to look down here at some of these other little definitions and see if we can put this together and come to some kind of an understanding. Today, treaties continue to affirm the inherent sovereignty of the American Indian nations, enabling tribal governments to maintain nation-to-nation relationship with the United States government, manage their lands, resources, and economies, protect their people, and build a more secure future for generations to come. Let's see, that's all that I had there, I think. Okay, so now we go over to this one. The treaty clause. Now this is Wikipedia, which is basically garbage. Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2 of the United States Constitution empowers the President of the United States to propose, chiefly negotiate agreements between the United States and other countries, which upon receiving the advice and consent of a 2/3 supermajority vote of the United States Senate shall become binding with the force of federal law. Okay, I'm not even going to get into what federal really means. The body of law, one of 3 types of international accord. International, huh? Treaty has something to do with international. The body of law governing U.S. foreign policy recognizes 3 mechanisms by which the United States enters into binding international obligations. The term treaty is used in a more restricted legal sense than in international law. Okay, then we've got congressional executive agreements and executive agreements. Basically, when you want to get down to it, you have to go to the case law, and I'm not going to spend that much time on this because we're going to look at one piece of case law in here in a little bit. But I'm still trying to keep this simple and not get too complicated. Okay, where are we at here? Let's see, let's read this one. American law is that international accords become part of the body of U.S. federal law. International accords would be treaties. Consequently, there's a footnote. Let's go see what the footnote says. Treaties and other international agreements. The role of the United States Senate. Okay. Congress can modify or repeal treaties by subsequent legislative action, even if this amounts to a violation of the treaty under international law. This was held, for instance, in the head money cases. The most recent changes will be enforced by U.S. courts entirely independent of whether international community still considers the old treaty obligations binding upon the U.S. And that's the thing, is the treaties are binding. And I think I need to take a look at the supremacy clause. Did I pull that up? I hope I did. I did. Okay, great. Okay, the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution of the United States. This is Article 4, Clause 2. This should pull it up right here. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Article 6. Article 6 of the United States Constitution establishes the laws and treaties of the United States made in accordance with it as the supreme law of the land, forbids a religious test as a requirement for holding a government position, and holds the United States under the Constitution responsible. Okay, now, we've always been taught that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. That is not true. It was meant to be, but see, the Constitution is actually what's called a trust indenture, and it really doesn't apply to you or me. It applies to the government. It applies to our public servants. But the whole system has been hijacked, and these lawyers have come in. They bastardized our language. Actually, they didn't bastardize it so much as the public education taught us a bastardized language that's basically considered babble by the learned in our society. And it's just so much crap. It makes me sick. Anyway, federal laws made pursuant to it and treaties made under its authority constitute the supreme law of the land, and thus take priority over any conflicting state laws. It provides that state courts are bound by and state constitutions subordinate to the supreme law. That meaning the Constitution and treaties. Well, treaties are made between nations, and back, I think it was about 2014, the United Nations came up with a small arms treaty, and Obama tried to sign on to it, but he couldn't get it through Congress. Ordinarily, when that happens, they throw it out the window. It's gone. It's dead. But they pigeonholed this for a later date. So they're coming for the guns. That's their ultimate plan, is to take the guns. And I believe that it'll be implemented through the United Nations, through the Small Arms Treaty. Because unlike the way that they treat all the other bad treaties, the ones that they don't want to join with, they didn't throw this one away. They just, put it in a drawer so they can pull it out later and ratify it. But anyway, treaties can change the Constitution. A treaty with the United Nations will just nullify the Second Amendment. So, we've been taught a whole bunch of lies, and Thomas Jefferson said that a nation that wishes to be ignorant and free wants what never was and never will be. We can't be ignorant. We have to educate ourselves. We are in the midst of Babylon. This document back here, this right here, this could just very well be the Constitution for Babylon as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to go back down here a little bit, and I'll have to search here because I didn't spend that much time. Organization of the court. It's a tribunal that should be the responsibility of a board of trustees. Oh, so this is a trust indenture also. The Chief Justice appointed by letters patent. Okay, there's another one. Let's see, I should have it here. Letters patent. An open document issued by a monarch or government conferring a patent or other right. Okay, so this Constitution right here is organized, and part of the organization has to do with the letters patent. Okay, where did I find it? Oh, here we go. Chief Justice as appointed by the letters patent. So this guy that's in charge of this is appointed by a document issued by a monarch or government conferring a patent or other right. Wow, that's interesting. Let's see, did I open any down here? No, I thought I did on this one. Okay. Okay, let's go back over here and look at some more interesting words here. Rules of the tribunal. Oh, I thought there was something else. Oath and office. All judges and officers of the tribunal will affirm an oath that is congruent with the core ethics of the tribunal. Specifically, they will do right in all manner of people according to law, and that the tribunal will cause no harm, loss, or damage to any person or group, and will not permit a law to be upheld which violates a human right or prevents a just, fair, and reasonable outcome. They will decide all matters without fear or favor or affection, malice, or ill will. By affirming an oath in accordance with the present article, judges and officers acknowledge that said oath shall take precedence over any and all other oaths or commitments the judge or officer in question may have made to any other court or government or professional body or private association. Judges and officers are immune from suit, prosecution, interference while acting fairly. Okay, so if they're in good behavior, they have immunity. This is not what I am looking for, and I might have to wing it. The official language of the tribunal is English, and where appropriate, determination and decisions will be translated into requisite languages. Could that be legalese? Because this is sure full of legalese. Okay. Judgments shall be handed down expeditiously on the conclusion of a case. Judgments not only must give determination, but must also provide reasons. If the tribunal consists of more than one judge, majority will determine the decision. Then there's the rights of appeals. Jurisdiction. The jurisdiction of the tribunal comprises all disputes where people or persons have suffered deprivation of their human rights. It doesn't say the rights of men or women. And there's a special significance in law. In law, I'm going to have to back up a minute and do a little explaining. I did this real quick because I just wanted to get this up as quickly as possible. Because, like I said, I was horrified when I saw this and when I read it and at what it truly says, because you can't believe these words. If you haven't had any experience with these words, with reading cases, with reading Black's Law Dictionary, Bovier's Law Dictionary, and the other resources that are available, this appears to say one thing, but it really says something quite different. And we haven't even gotten into the grammatical functions and the problems with the language overall. But human in law is considered a monster. Now, I'll try to explain this to you as best I can. I didn't have time, and I didn't pull up a bunch of stuff to back this up. If you'll notice, excuse me, in my previous videos, I started out with Critical Thought 101 and explained to you the difference between an assertion and an argument, and explained a little bit about when somebody makes an argument, then they're backing it with some evidence. And I'm not really backing this with evidence right now because I didn't pull up the appropriate definitions and everything. I actually went and tried, but and a good place is Black's Law 4th edition. But it seems that the complete 4th edition of Black's Law is a little hard to find. I found quite a few of them, and I've even got on my hard drive, I've got a DVD drive that's got all the way to the 9th edition of Black's Law here. And none of these seem to have the definition. I've seen it in Black's Law 4th, the definition of a human being. But rather than stall out on that point, I decided that I would just go on and try to explain this to you a little bit. But they're not talking, I would have a whole lot different feelings towards this document if it said if it said where men and women have suffered deprivation of their rights. Now, I'd be good with that. I'd be cool with that. People, persons, human rights, human. Those are all what are called words of art. Okay, it's legalese. It sounds like English, but it's not English as you and I know it. It's actually a more proper definition than we know, but that's the thing. They've allowed us to speak a certain way from the words that we learned in their public schools, which we were mandated to take. If our parents would have tried to keep us out of those schools, we would have been taken from our parents. And this all happened back in the early 1900s, 19 teens. All of a sudden, school was made available. It came out of the private sector and went into the public. And the state basically took control of the learning of the children. And education has went downhill ever since, to where today we have Common Core. I should have pulled up something on Common Core. Let's just try this real quick, see if we can find anything at all on it that is relevant. Common Core is philosophy of education today that is just horrible. Let's see. It's what parents should know: understanding how Common Core was created. I have no idea what's going to come up here. English Language Arts Standards. Common Core Standards of English Language Arts, Literacy, History, Social Studies represent the next generation of K-12 standards designed to prepare all students for success in college, career, and life by the time they graduate from high school. That's what they sell you on with Common Core. But I personally know a teacher that had like 25 years into his career, and he quit teaching over Common Core and became a prison guard. They're not going to expose it here. But Common Core basically takes all the creativity out of education. And it tries to validate the individual, and it makes, if there's a consensus on something, what in the world did I do there? Oh, I pulled up another one rather than getting rid of the one I had. Okay. Oh, yeah, I don't want this up yet. I don't even really want that up yet. Let's go back to the Supremacy Clause. Common Core, basically, you get credit for just participating. And if the consensus says a thing is a certain way, then that's the way it is. If you delve into Common Core and research it deep enough, you'll find out that under Common Core, if the whole class says 2 plus 2 is 5, well then 2 plus 2 is 5. So it's just another way to screw up the education, to dumb us down, so that the powers that be, the ruling elite, the serpent seed, whatever you want to call them, so that they can control us. We are truly enslaved by the system. And it's all done by trickery. Most of the trickery is done through the words, through the language. Like this stupid thing here. This is evil, it's nefarious. What's the treaty here? Okay, that's that one. Here's the Constitution again. I was looking for something in particular on this. I think it's right near the end. There's a Board of Trustees. Sounds good. Oh, we got trustees watching out over everything. No, it's making you part of another trust. You're volunteering into it. And this is a vehicle that is designed to deprive you of your rights, any rights that you have left. Okay, it's a living document, so it can be changed at will. Okay, that's not the one I'm looking for. Somewhere in here it said that right now they don't handle individual matters. They only handle matters of national importance that affects nations. So it really, there's no benefit for this. It makes all kinds of promises up here in the beginning. Over in this treaty, it makes all kinds of promises. Here it talks about how we're all equal, and we've got a truth we've come to know and understand, embrace it, now choose to be ruled by it for the rest of our days. And it acts like it's going to give you something, but this is just all an empty promise up in here. That's all this is. There is no meat to this. This is basic contract law, and it's binding, and this here is very altruistic. It's great. If this was really the way it was, that would be wonderful. But this is not what that is offering you. It's offering this, but then it's not making a commitment to men and women. It's making a commitment to humans, which are classified in the law as monsters. Oh, I was going to explain that to you. When the egg is fertilized by the sperm, the egg has 23 chromosomes of the mother, and the sperm has 23 chromosomes of the father. Those 23 and 23 make up the 46 chromosomes of the zygote. Now this is called fertilization. It's when the divine spark of life enters into the new being, the new life, and that's when the moment of life is this moment of fertilization. Now in law, conception is different than fertilization. You think conception is when the sperm and the egg get together and the baby's first formed, the zygote's first formed. That's not it. Conception is the moment of implantation of the zygote into the uterine wall, and that takes between 7 and 14 days. Up in the fallopian tubes is where the sperm and the egg come together, and then it travels down the fallopian tubes into the womb, and then it implants. Well, here's where the monster comes into being, because this pure 46 chromosome brand new being is floating for this period of time down this fallopian tube, and it is a pure one being form of life. It was just formed by the union of father's contribution and mother's contribution. And when it gets into the right place and it embeds, then all of a sudden the chromosomes of the uterine wall start turning into the placenta, but they attach to the new baby, the zygote, and the conceptus, whatever you want to call it. And when the mother's DNA mixes with the baby's DNA, it is truly a monster. It's two beings that are mixed together, and that's where they get this from. And don't believe me. There's none of this that I'm giving you is legal advice. This is my interpretation of everything that I've read and that everything that I've studied. But see, I can't give legal advice. That's only for lawyers. But I'm just telling you what I saw in this document and trying to explain the way I understand it. And I think that I have a little understanding, but that's for me. It doesn't belong to you. I can't do your due diligence for you. You have to do that yourself. I'm not going to go there where I was going to go. But anyway, so this contract here is binding. It says right here that we now choose to be ruled by it for the rest of our days. Right here. For the rest of our days, we choose to be ruled by this document, this treaty which supersedes the Constitution that they just introduced right here. Okay? So, and all it deals with is human rights. It doesn't deal with the rights of men and women. And then somewhere here I saw it was inalienable rights. Well, that's not what we have. Inalienable and unalienable are two different words. The IN versus the UN at the beginning of that word makes all the difference in the world. Unalienable rights are rights that are given to you by the Most High, by Yahuwah Elohim. He gave you these rights, and you don't even have the right to contract those away. Okay? So right there, if somebody happened to have signed up for this, I think that would be enough to invalidate it, because as a living man or woman, you have been endowed by your Creator with certain unalienable rights. And you don't have the rights to give those rights away, or the right to give those rights away, any more than you have the right to take that life, because you didn't create that life. That life was created by Yahuwah Elohim. He is the one that's in charge of it, and he's the one that has the right to change your rights. He's the one that has the right to take your life. He's the one that has the right to give you life, because he's the only one that can do those things. All of this here is the counterfeit of Satan trying to do the same thing that Yahuwah did, or trying to undo what he did. I don't even know how to explain it. I'm not that articulate in this, and I haven't really prepared enough. Again, it seems like I never do. Anyway, I forgot why I pulled up this case here, Marbury versus Madison. I kind of know. When we were talking about the supremacy clause of the Constitution of the United States, I remember now, and treaties as being the supreme laws of the land. But then in 1803, we get into this case, Marbury versus Madison. And I think it's 43 pages of just talking in circles. And what it was, one guy promised another guy a commission, and he didn't give it to him. So he takes it to the Supreme Court, the court of original jurisdiction. They get a ruling on it. But in all of this, none of that really matters. Who did what, to whom, why. What matters is what came out of this case. In 1803, Marbury versus Madison became a landmark case in that the court basically decided it's not the Constitution that is the supreme law of the land, but it's the court's interpretation of the Constitution. So that's how they turned this fixed trust indenture into a living document. Like this one here said that it was, oh, where was that? Right down here. Well, that's not it. This here is supposed to be a living document. Did I see that? Yes. The Constitution of the International Tribunal for Natural Justice is a living document, and amendments will be considered by the Board of Trustees on an annual basis, so they change it at will. The trustees don't have to confer with the beneficiaries of the trust. The trustees, once they're in, they just do what they think is best for the trust. And they're like demigods. They do what they want to. There's nothing you can do about it. You've contracted into this thing. You've agreed to it, to be ruled by it for the rest of your life. And then you find out right here, oh, well, it's subject to change. First of all, they didn't offer you a real benefit. They offered you a pie-in-the-sky benefit that sounds real good, looks good on paper. But when you get into the meat and bones of it, you find out it's all bones, there's no meat. So you got to read this stuff. You really got to read this stuff. Let's go over here. This is Cornell Law School. This is the Legal Information Institute. And here you'll find the U.S. Code. You'll find UCC. You'll find all kinds of good law at this website, Cornell Law School. 1 U.S. Code, subsection 8, person, human being, child, and individual, as including born alive infant. And this right here is one of the biggest terms that they get us with when we get in deep into all of this law. What is a born alive infant? I might just make you hang with me and go to the Illinois website and see if I could find it again, because Illinois has even incorporated this born alive infant. But let's read this real quick. In determining the meaning of any act of Congress or any ruling, regulation, or interpretation of the various administrative bureaus and agencies of the United States, that should be United States Incorporated, the words person, human being, child, and individual shall include every infant member of the species Homo sapiens. So what's this all about? We're not even going to touch on that, but that's worth investigating. Who is born alive at any stage of development. Okay, now this born alive was important enough that they gave a little bit of a, definition here. As used in this section, the term born alive with respect to a member of the species Homo sapiens means the complete expulsion or extraction from his or her mother of that member at any stage of development who after such expulsion or extraction breathes or has a beating heart, pulsation of the umbilical cord, or a definite movement of voluntary muscles, regardless of whether the umbilical cord has been cut and regardless of whether the expulsion or extraction occurs as a result of natural or induced labor, cesarean section, or induced abortion. C. Nothing in this section shall be construed to affirm, deny, expand, or contradict any legal status or legal right applicable to any member of the species Homo sapiens at any point prior to being born alive as defined in this section. And I could talk for an hour on this sentence right here, but I'm not going to. It'll just distract from what I want to look at here. Okay. Now, this right here, it says the complete expulsion or extraction from his or her mother of that member at any stage of development who after such expulsion or extraction breathes or has a beating heart, a pulsation of the umbilical cord, or a definite movement of voluntary muscles, regardless of whether the umbilical cord has been cut and regardless of whether the expulsion or extraction occurs as a result of natural or induced labor, blah, blah, blah. The point being, this here, the complete expulsion, well, first of all, when a child is born in the hospital, the baby is not completely expulsed from the mother before the umbilical cord is cut. And when we get into talking about a remedy here, we're going to take a pretty big look at that because that's major, that's huge. When you're born in the hospital, you come out of the mother's womb, you take your first breath, the umbilical cord is cut. By this definition, that placenta that's left inside the mother is also a born alive infant. Now you really have to start getting a handle on these terms and on this legalese, these words of art, but that's what they're doing there, because what they do is they take this baby and the baby then is given to the mother, a birth certificate's made out for the baby, mom takes the baby and goes home, leaves the placenta, the afterbirth, in the hospital, naturally, with the expectation that the hospital's going to deal with this biohazard appropriately. Well, nothing could be further from the truth, because off of that certificate of live birth, what they do is they, within generally 7 to 30 days, they issue a birth certificate. But the birth certificate has to do with this placenta that was left behind. And the placenta is given a name that's written in all capital letters on the birth certificate, and it's under the doctrine of idem sonans, which means in Latin sounds the same. It has the same name as yours, and it sounds the same as your name, but it's in fact different. It's spelled in all capital letters, and according to the Chicago Manual of Style, which is the main one that's used by the courts, there's no convention in the English language for all capital letters. That's something called Dog Latin or American Sign Language, and it's listed under foreign languages. It's 11 point, I can't remember what it is right now. Doesn't matter. What's going on there is the bastardization of the language. They're mixing a foreign language and they're mixing English, and they're just confusing us to death. We don't know what's going on. We got no idea what's going on. And what they do is they use this whole process to enslave us for the rest of our lives. And that's what Satan confesses to that in this contract right here. He confesses. Where is that? Right here, all the way up at the top here. Where was it? awakened to the truth that since the moment of our birth we have been contracted to corporate institutions by which their very nature sever neither people nor planet, and in hereby revoking in earnest all such contracts. That doesn't even make any sense. They're talking in circles there. But he's telling you, we have been enslaved since the moment of birth. We've been contracted. And this is a voluntary servitude. Let's go up here one more thing. I'm going to go USCONST Amendment 13. Let's see if we get this up real quick. The 13th Amendment. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Okay, that seems straightforward. That frees the slaves. That's what came out of the Civil War. That's what that good old boy Lincoln took care of, right? Wrong answer. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude. Now what that does is that's open-ended. There's no such thing allowed as involuntary servitude. However, voluntary servitude is completely and totally legal. Okay? And that's exactly what happened with Satan when he approached Eve. When he, whatever that was, if it was eating an apple, whatever, I don't know. I wasn't there. I have no first-hand knowledge of that. Something took place whereby Satan got Eve to consent to break the laws of Yahuwah. Now, when she did that, then she moved from being in a perfected state into an imperfected state that was stained by sin. But she did it voluntarily. Now, she didn't do it knowingly, willingly, and with full disclosure, because he told her a lie. Well, did God really say you can't eat from any tree? And, oh no, we can eat from all the trees except this one. We can't eat from it or we can't touch it. So he pulled her into a conversation, and she says, if we touch it, we'll die. And he's, oh, you're not going to die. You'll just be like God. You'll know the difference between good and evil. So he started using his words of art. And he got her to look at it in a different light and to consent into becoming a voluntary slave of his system. And man has been enslaved by the beast system ever since. Now, what I've been trying to do, what I'm hoping I can do, is I'm hoping that Yahuwah will bless me and use me to bring some enlightenment to some people who see these videos, and that he will bless me and show me a way that people don't have to devote the amount of time that I've devoted to this to come to an understanding of it. So much of this stuff makes no sense. You accept as punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction, blah, 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 blah. Reading all that stuff, this is an easy one here. But reading some of this stuff, it's so convoluted and the words are written in such a way that they're all open to interpretation. And they're open to the person that's reading them can decide, a lot of times if it's a judicial officer, actually it's a magistrate, it's an administrative officer, pretending to be a judge since the judicial courts no longer exist in this country. And that's another video all in itself. But the magistrate can pretty much jump from definition to definition. He can go from Bouvier's Law Dictionary to Webster's 1928 Dictionary to Black's Law Dictionary to whatever, and cherry pick the definitions that he uses. In one sentence, he can take silent judicial notice of what he wants the meaning to be, and he can twist the same sentence into meaning 20 different things, depending on how you stack up the definitions of the words. That's the way it's supposed to be. Well, what does the Bible say about Satan? It says he's a liar and the father of all lies. He's been that way from the beginning. You know, he come to rob, to kill, and to destroy. And that's what he's trying to do to each and every one of us. And this is one of the most nefarious things packaged up with a pretty bow on it, looking like it's just a gift from heaven, straight from heaven. Man, this sounds so good. Having awakened to the truth that since the moment of our birth we've been contracted into corporate institutions which by their very nature sever neither people nor planet. What's that mean? By their very nature sever neither people nor planet. And hereby revoking in earnest all such contracts. What such contracts? This really says nothing right here. It's some convoluted doublespeak. But on the surface, at first blush, this looks like it's really, it's really going to help us out. We now claim a rightful place in this world which the Supreme Creator within, whoops, there it is, the Supreme Creator within. Well, if I'm the Creator, I'm the lawmaker. So do what thou wilt is the whole of the law. Isn't that kind of the doctrine of Aleister Crowley? I mean, you can see when you start focusing in on these little phrases, it's more than obvious. But most people are going to look this, they're going to gloss right over, and they're going to say, yeah, that sounds pretty good. Where do I sign? And what does it say down here? We have met with such a truth, and as we have come to know it, as we have come to know it. Okay, now that's interesting right there. We have met with such a truth as we have come to know it. So this doesn't say we have met with the truth and we now realize that it is truly the truth. It's basically saying we have come to believe the lie, understand it and embrace it, and now choose to be ruled by it for the rest of our days. I mean, it's just horrible what they do with the words. In this one here, what I didn't get to on this treaty, because I don't remember, and I'd read through it so quick, and I was just horrified when I read it for the first time. But this International Tribunal of Justice is based in London, okay? Now, we learned when we looked at letters patent. I think we did look at letters patent. Letters patent, excuse me, an open document issued by a monarch or government conferring a patent or other right. So, under the legal definition of letter patent here, that this is established upon, and I think this was in the Constitution. Now we gotta go all the way to the top. I think, I don't remember where it's at. Yeah, the International Tribunal for Natural Justice, justice established by treaty, letters patent, and proclamation. Remember proclamation? Did we look at that? I think we did, but I'm not sure. Proclamation. Proclamation versus declaration. I don't think we looked at the definition here. A public or official announcement, especially one dealing with a matter of great importance. A public or official announcement of an important matter. A clear declaration of something. And I had a couple open down here on this. As nouns, the difference between proclamation and declaration is that a proclamation is a statement which is proclaimed, a formal public announcement, while a declaration is a written or oral indication of a fact, opinion, or belief. So, there's a huge difference, and as men and women, we do make declarations. They're called affidavits, or their declarations are done in the form of an affidavit, whereas a proclamation is something that is done, it's an official announcement. And proclamation, law, and legal definition. Proclamation is the act of proclaiming or the condition of being proclaimed, usually an official public announcement. by an act of proclamation. A government declares to the public about the government's action. So if all of this is coming from London, and letters patent have to do, where did I see them? Oh, here we go. Letters patent is an open document issued by a monarch or government. London, monarch, government, the Queen. And by the time we're done with all of this, we're going to trace the Queen, or actually it's the crown. The Queen's just a woman. Her office is all the power. When she dies, the crown retains the power, and she's just a dead woman. But this is all from London, and London is directly tied to the Vatican. So it all goes right back to Rome. We're right back into the Roman system, and it's all prophesied. Daniel chapter 7, Daniel chapter 9, Daniel, is it 10? Daniel 10, I think Daniel 11, many places. Revelation 17 and 18, Mystery Babylon the Great, that all ties in together. All of the eschatological components go right back to Rome. We look at the image in Daniel chapter 2, the great image with the head made of gold, the arms and chest made of silver, the belly and thighs made of bronze, and the legs of iron with feet partly iron and partly clay, is a pictorial allegory of all of the governments from the time of King Nebuchadnezzar in ancient Babylon up until the end of the days. And especially important is what's happening in Daniel chapter 7. I don't have the verse, I don't have it in front of me, but where it talks about the little horn that spoke great and pompous words against the Most High and sought to change the times and the laws. I truly believe that's talking about the Vatican. I think it's talking about the office of the papacy. And Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. I think that's multifaceted. The woman that rides the beast, if we look at Ezekiel chapter 16, we see an allegory set up where the prophet uses an allegory of a female infant that is tossed out on the day of her birth. Yahuwah comes along and picks her up and causes her to live. As she grows, he covers her with badger skins and causes her to live an opulent life, and eventually he takes her as a wife, and then she turns to other lovers, which is a picture of idolatry, and goes into judgment. But in that, he sets up the principle of a woman representing an ecclesiastical organization. And now the ecclesiastical organization there is what we call a church today. So when it talks about the woman riding the beast, there's two beasts in Revelation chapter 13. There's the beast coming out of the sea and the beast coming out of the earth. And these are systems. And the one coming out of the earth, I believe, is the woman riding the beast that comes out of the sea. It's an ecclesiastical organization that controls the governments. One world religion, one world government. That's what we're coming to. Excuse me. And things like this nefarious document here that's clothed in white and looks just pure as the driven snow is actually an instrument of the enemy, an instrument of Satan, to completely and totally defeat us. It's almost like it's a glimpse of the mark of the beast to me. But I was just horrified when I read this thing, and especially when this wonderful woman that left this wonderful comment on my video, and she's on fire for Yahuwah, and she's a true believer, and she's on fire, and the fact that she could be so deceived by this, but we're warned. Yeshua warns this in the Olivet prophecy. I believe it's Matthew 24, but the Olivet prophecies parallel accounts in Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21 of the same thing. He's breaking down what happens in the end of days, right before his coming back. And he says that the deception is going to be so bad that even the elect will be deceived if it's possible. And this is one here that, man, that come really close to deceiving my little sister, and that bothers me. It makes me mad. It makes me beyond mad. And it all has to do with the people who we've trusted, we've looked up to all of our lives. Not our parents, but our governments, our presidents, the courts, the police. All of these people have become so corrupt and so crooked, and they have deceived us. And the bad part is, they're deceived themselves. Everybody's living this lie. Everybody's being influenced by Satan, which is another interesting point. I believe it's Revelation 12:9 where it says that Satan deceives the whole world. Well, the last time I checked, the whole was everything, all. And since I'm included in that, I have to assume that Satan's deceiving me too. So therefore, I have to constantly weigh my methods, my motives, and anything I think I know by the word of Yahuwah, because his word is truth. It says in John, I think it's John 17, where he's praying, John 17:17, sanctify them by thy truth, thy word is truth. Yeshua is saying, sanctify the believers by himself. And so we have to look to him. We have to look to Yahusha. We have to look to Yahuwah. And we have to look to the written word that's been handed down to us. And we have to hang on that, and we have to apply that to every situation and weigh anything that we run across here by that original trust indenture. See, it's called the New Testament for a reason. That's a testamentary trust, and the testator has to die for that trust to take place. So when Yahusha went to the cross, that made it an irrevocable testamentary trust. And that's what we fall under. That's what we have to claim. We have to go back to the time of our fertilization, not our conception, but the time that the very moment that spark of life entered into us, the very moment that Yahuwah caused the building materials from mom and the building materials from dad to come together. See, that's nothing. They just supplied the building materials. But what happened was Yahuwah took those building materials at the moment that they met. He put in the divine spark of life. There's a principle called biogenesis, and biogenesis is very simply the one thing that the evolutionists cannot get over, cannot get past. It is the fact that life only comes from life. Yahuwah is life, therefore Yahuwah only gives life. When those building materials, the 23 chromosomes from mom, the 23 chromosomes from dad, come together, the spark of life happens at the fertilization, and then we become a zygote, which is in fact 100% pure man or woman. So that's it right there, and it all comes down to property rights. We are going to have to figure a way to go back and to claim our property at that point in time before conception. Then we will have what's called a superior lien interest. And a friend of mine and I, a great guy, Brandon Sibley of TheBigSib YouTube channel. Everybody should go check out Brandon. He's so much better at this than I am. And he and I have sent a couple emails back and forth and shared some information. He's great on trust law. He's helped me to understand a lot of this process. I'm good at my little area of law, and not nearly as good as Brandon. The kid's incredible. He's a kid. He's about 40 years old, and I call him a kid, but hey, I'm older than dirt, so what do I know? But I encourage you all to go check out Brandon's videos. It's called TheBigSib. It's capital T-H-E, capital S, or capital B-I-G, capital S-I-B, TheBigSib YouTube channel. And check out his videos for the last 30, 60 days especially. They're getting really good. But go back and look a year ago and look at how much progress this guy has made. In my opinion, he's just a model for somebody who's trying. that he turns on a dime. When he gets more information, gets closer to the truth, he follows that information. And if he sees something that's bad, he just tosses it out. He's looking for the truth. He's truly searching for the truth. And that's what we all have to do, because this is nothing more than preparation for the age to come. So dear brothers and sisters, thank you so much, and I hope that this helped a little bit. I'm sorry if I had to get too involved in things, and I'm sorry for my shortcomings as a presenter. But hey, you know what? I figured out how to get the screen share up here where I can share pages off the computer now, so that's cool. I've fought with this program. I've fought with this, trying to get this up and running. I still haven't figured out my thumbnails. I still haven't went back to learn the graphics that I need to do these things. But that's not important. It's not about getting out there and trying to find 100,000 subscribers and trying to look great and all of that. No, it's about, if there's any little piece of truth that I have that I can share with you guys, if there's anything that I can do to serve my brothers and sisters, or to serve the kingdom of Yahuwah, or to serve His Son, then that's all I'm looking for here. I don't want any praise. I want no praise. I don't want any monetization from YouTube. Brandon says it all the time, and he's for real. You know, freely it's been given to me, and freely I want to give it back. And I feel highly inadequate to give a lot of times, because I'm not that good as a presenter, and I'm not as articulate as I'd like to be. But Yahuwah's not done with me yet, so if y'all pray for me, I'm praying for you, and bless you all. And with that, I'm going to say good night. I can figure out how to turn this thing off.